Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lin. Namaskar. Coming up in DD India Live. India and the Philippines elevate relations to a strategic partnership with a comprehensive action plan. 14 MOUs signed. India hits back at US tariff threat over Russian oil trade, cites economic necessity and calls out Western hypocrisy. Cloudburst triggers devastating floods in Uttarakhand's Dharali district. Chief Minister Dhami orders swift rescue and assures all support. Marking a significant milestone in their diplomatic relationship, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. met at the Hyderabad House and agreed to elevate the India-Philippines bilateral relationship to a strategic partnership. The leaders also witnessed the exchange of the Plan of Action 2025 to 2029 for implementation of the strategic partnership. India and the Philippines share close bonds based on the foundation of civilizational, historical and people-to-people connections. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Philippines President Marcos Jr. also held delegation-level talks. They discussed various aspects of boosting India-Philippines ties in a host of sectors. The Prime Minister witnessed the exchange of several MOUs and attended a joint press conference, a meeting with the Philippines President Marcos Jr. Several important documents, including a mutual legal assistance treaty in criminal matters, a treaty on transfer of sentenced persons, terms of reference on negotiations of an India-Philippines preferential trade agreement, the terms of reference on the establishment of staff talks between defense forces in areas of space, tourism, culture, science and technology and digital technologies were exchanged. Addressing a joint press meeting with the President Marcos Jr., Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he said that India and the Philippines have agreed to elevate ties to a strategic partnership. Let's listen.
आज हमने अपने संबंधों को स्ट्रैटेजिक पार्टनरशिप का दर्जा देने का निर्णय लिया है। इस पार्टनरशिप के पोटेंशियल को परिणामों में परिवर्तित करने के लिए एक व्यापक एक्शन प्लान भी बनाया गया है। हमारा बायलैटरल ट्रेड निरंतर बढ़ रहा है और $3 बिलियन का आंकड़ा पार कर चुका है। इसे और मजबूत करने के लिए इंडिया आसियान फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट के रिव्यू को जल्द से जल्द पूरा करना हमारी प्राथमिकता है। साथ ही हमने द्विपक्षीय प्रेफरेंशियल ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट की दिशा में काम करने का फैसला भी किया है। इंफॉर्मेशन एंड डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी, स्वास्थ्य, ऑटोमोबाइल्स, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, मिनरल्स, हर सेक्टर में हमारी कंपनियां सक्रिय रूप से काम कर रही हैं। विज्ञान और टेक्निक के क्षेत्र में वायरोलॉजी से लेकर एआई और एडिटिव मैन्युफैक्चरिंग तक जॉइंट रिसर्च चल रही है। आज संपन्न हुए साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी कोऑपरेशन प्लान से इसमें और गति आएगी।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also welcomed the Philippines' decision to grant visa-free entry to Indian tourists, adding that India would also offer free e-visas to tourists from the Philippines.
म्यूचुअल लीगल असिस्टेंस और ट्रांसफर ऑफ सेंटेंस पर्सन्स के विषयों पर आज हुए समझौतों से हमारी सुरक्षा साझेदारी को और बल मिलेगा। फ्रेंड्स, भारतीय पर्यटकों को वीजा फ्री एंट्री देने के फिलीपींस के निर्णय का हम स्वागत करते हैं। भारत ने भी फिलीपींस के पर्यटकों को फ्री ई वीजा सुविधा देने का फैसला लिया है। इस साल दिल्ली और मनीला के बीच डायरेक्ट फ्लाइट्स शुरू करने के लिए काम किया जाएगा।
The President of the Philippines, Marcos Jr., also acknowledged India's contribution to making the Indo-Pacific a free and open region.
Safe navigation and security are important, especially for Filipino seafarers who are on almost every ship plying these historic and strategic sea lanes. I again thank the Indian people and the brave men and women of the Indian Navy through Prime Minister Modi for your kind rescue of our nationals in 2024 after a Houthi rebel attack. We recognize India's influence as first responder role in this critical area, and we want to work with you for a free and open Indo-Pacific. We both have high stakes in the future of our Indo-Pacific region and in the world. The Philippines-India strategic partnership will doubtless resonate beyond the confines of our bilateral relationship.
The Philippines President, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who is on a 5-day visit to India, was welcomed by a guard of honor and also accorded a ceremonial reception at the forecourt of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The visiting dignitary was warmly greeted by President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. President Marcos Jr. reaffirmed the alliance and partnership, and he said that India and Philippines share a strengthening bond. The leader also said that the Indo-Pacific is the correct evolution of the Asia-Pacific.
It is a reaffirmation of the alliance and the partnership that we are strengthening. Where we used to refer to the Asia-Pacific region, we now refer to as the Indo-Pacific region, which is I think, a correct evolution of that understanding because of the global nature of all of politics and of all of trade and all of the economy. And to build upon what we already have had, but certainly to explore the many opportunities that have arisen in the past few years because of the new technologies and the changing state of the global economy and the geopolitics around us now.
Later, President Marcos Jr. also paid his tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat by laying a wreath at Mahatma Gandhi's memorial. The leader shared his commitment to the ideals of truth and non-violence. India's External Affairs Ministry held a special briefing on the state visit of the Philippines President to India. Briefing the media, Secretary East Perisami Kumaran, he informed that India and the Philippines have signed 14 MOUs in the fields of criminal matters, terms of reference for trade agreement, cooperation in space, digital technology and tourism, among others.
Several agreements, MOUs, were concluded and exchanged during the visit. There were 11 of them. 14 of them. These include mutual legal assistance treaty in criminal matters, a treaty on transfer of sentenced persons, terms of reference on negotiations for the India-Philippines Preferential Trade Agreement, terms of reference for service, staff talks, Army, Air Force and Navy, enhanced cooperation between Coast Guards, statement of intent on cooperation in space, cultural exchange program, a program of cooperation in science and technology, an MOU for cooperation in digital technologies, and an implementation program for tourist cooperation.
Further, Secretary Kumaran also said that maritime security cooperation between India and the Philippines is progressing well.
The cooperation between India and Philippines in the area of maritime domain awareness and maritime security is progressing well. 4 Indian ships have recently concluded their visits to the Philippines for maritime cooperative activities and a demonstration of India's hydrographic capabilities.
As part of its operational deployment to Southeast Asia, the Indian naval ships INS Delhi, INS Shakti and INS Kiltan, they concluded a successful port call in Manila in the Philippines. The visit featured high-level diplomatic engagements, professional exchanges, and a bilateral maritime exercise with the Philippines Navy from July the 30th to August the 4th. The two navies, they conducted sea drills covering anti-air, anti-surface and anti-submarine warfare, showcasing tactical coordination and operational synergy. These high-level interactions underscored the growing strategic convergence between the two maritime nations and reflected a shared vision for a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. The Indian government has strongly hit back at the United States after the US administration under Trump had threatened to substantially raise tariffs on goods from India over its purchase of Russian oil. In a statement issued by the Ministry of External Affairs, the government has stated that it has been targeted by the United States and the EU over its purchase of Russian oil. It said that India began importing from Russia because traditional supplies were diverted to Europe after the outbreak of the conflict. The United States at that time had actively encouraged such imports by India for strengthening global energy markets stability. The government added that India's imports are meant to ensure predictable and affordable energy costs to the Indian consumer. They are a necessity compelled by global market situation. However, it is revealing that the two nations criticizing India are themselves indulging in trade with Russia. Unlike in our case, such trade is not even a vital national compulsion for them. The Ministry of External Affairs put forth figures of EU's oil trade with Russia, saying that in 2024, they had a bilateral trade of euros 67.5 billion in goods with Russia. In addition, it had trade and services which estimated at euros 17.2 billion in 2023. This is significantly higher than India's total trade with Russia that year or subsequently. In fact, European imports of LNG in 2024 reached a record 16.5 million tons, surpassing the last record of 15.21 million tons in 2022. So the government also mentioned that the Europe-Russia trade, it includes not just energy, but fertilizers, mining products, chemicals, iron and steel, and machinery and transport equipment. Talking about the United States now, the MEA said that America continues to import from Russia uranium, hexafluoride for its nuclear industry, palladium for its EV industry, fertilizers, as well as chemicals. The Indian government has also stated that in this scenario, the targeting of India is unjustified and unreasonable. It also clearly stated that, like any major economy, India will take all necessary measures to safeguard its national interest as well as economic security. Well, Russia has accused the United States on Tuesday of exerting illegal trade pressure on India after the US President Donald Trump threatened again to raise tariffs on India over its purchase of Russian oil. The Kremlin spokesperson said that Russia believes that sovereign countries should have and do have the right to choose their own trading partners.
We hear many statements that are in fact threats, attempts to force countries to cut trade relations with Russia. We do not consider such statements to be legal. We believe that sovereign countries should have and do have the right to choose their own trading partners, partners for trade and economic cooperation, and to choose for themselves the forms of trade and economic cooperation that are in the interests of a particular nation.
In Poland's capital, Warsaw, a botanical garden is home to the world's stinkiest flower. Now, the giant arum lily or corpse flower is known to be one of the smelliest plants on earth. It blossoms a foul smell of rotten flesh engulfing the air, and the corpse flower, as it's known, is rare and attracts thousands of visitors. A former assistant to the far-right Alternative for Germany politician Maximilian Krah faces trial in a German court on Tuesday over alleged Chinese espionage. The defendant, identified as the German national, is suspected to have worked for Chinese intelligence service since 2002, say the prosecutors. The USS Gerald Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, has docked in the port of Marseille for a 5-day stopover. While in the port, crews and embarked personnel from the ship will participate in tours of Marseille, Paris and Monaco. Still to come here on DD India Live. The United Nations Security Council will hold a special session on Tuesday. They're discussing hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. And India's parliament faces disruption amid opposition uproar.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Mark Lynn. A massive cloudburst struck the Raleigh district in the hilly state of Uttarakhand on Tuesday, prompting flooding in the Kir Ganga River. This sudden calamity caused mayhem on a large scale. People started rushing to safer places. The Chief Minister of the state, Pushkar Singh Dhami, has expressed his condolences on the loss of life and property. The Chief Minister has directed officials to promptly begin rescue actions at the affected area. The Chief Minister is continuously monitoring the situation. He also assured of all possible assistance to the affected families.
के धराली क्षेत्र में बादल फटने की अभी सूचना आई है और बहुत तेज गति से मलबा आया है पानी के साथ। हमारा प्रयास है कि इस समय में सभी को जल्दी से जल्दी राहत के काम किए जाएं, बचाव के कार्य किए जाएं। जिला प्रशासन के लोग वहां पहुंच रहे हैं, साथ में हमारे सेना के लोग, एनडीआरएफ, एसडीआरएफ, आपदा प्रबंधन विभाग लगातार कोशिश कर रहा है कि हमारी सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता है कि सभी को इस समय राहत की जाए, सभी को बचाया जाए और हर प्रकार से जान माल की सुरक्षा की जाए।
The Union Home Minister Amit Shah also met members of Parliament from Uttarakhand and they discussed the flood situation. The Home Minister spoke to the Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami and expressed his sorrow over the fateful incident. And he also assured all possible support from the central government. He directed the NDRF and other disaster management agencies to work effectively. The Home Minister is in continuous communication with the state government on this situation. Meanwhile, the Indian Army has mobilized 150 personnel who have reached the site and they have commenced rescue operations. So far, 15 to 20 individuals have been successfully evacuated, with the injured receiving prompt medical treatment at the Indian Army Medical Facility in Harshil. Now, a 16-member team from the Indo-Tibetan Border Police or Border Force and three other teams from the National Disaster Response Force, they have also arrived at the cloudburst site in Uttarkashi and they are assisting the rescue operations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed his condolences over the cloudburst disaster that happened in Dharali district of the North Indian state of Uttarakhand on Tuesday afternoon. The Prime Minister said, "I express my condolences to the people affected by this tragedy in Dharali, Uttarakhand. I pray for the well-being of all victims. I have spoken to Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhamiji and obtained information about the situation. Under the supervision of the state government, teams are engaged in relief and rescue efforts to extend every possible assistance. No stone is being left unturned in providing assistance to the people." Amid continuous uproar and sloganeering in both houses of the Indian Parliament, the Lok Sabha on Tuesday passed the readjustment of the representation of scheduled tribes in assembly constituencies of the State of Goa Bill 2024. Now, this bill was introduced by India's Minister for Law and Justice, Arjun Ram Meghwal, and it seeks to empower the Election Commission of India to carry out necessary amendments in the delimitation of assembly and parliamentary constituencies in Goa. The Lok Sabha passed the bill before the House was adjourned amid protests by opposition members. Similar scenes were also witnessed in the Rajya Sabha. Both houses will reconvene on Wednesday at 11 in the morning. India's only hybrid master's course in agricultural science has gained global recognition from the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. The UK-based institute has tied up with the Rashtriya Raksha University. DD India correspondent Vishal Barristow spoke to the CEO of IFOA, which has a footprint across 120 countries.
Less than 1,000 actuaries for 1.4 billion population in India. That's a big challenge. And I have with me Mr. Vikas Nevatia. He is the CEO, RSA India Advisor, IFOA. Mr. Nevatia, it's a big challenge and we are aiming at least 25,000 plus by 2030. So in what way this course, which is a hybrid course for the Rashtriya Raksha University, going to help?
Well, I think it's a great start to be able to offer something like this nationally in a hybrid manner. So more and more people can take up this course and sign up for this course. And because actuaries, you know, they're of national importance. They're not just just there for insurance companies. They solve complex business problems.
In what way will this attract employment opportunities for the students of Rashtriya Raksha University?
Look, actuaries have an international qualification, basically. You qualify as an actuary from a premier body like IFOA. You open yourself up to be employed anywhere across the globe. That's a great thing about being an actuary, and especially from IFOA.
By 2030, we need to have 25,000 plus actuaries in India. With cameraman Yogesh in Delhi, this is Vishal Barristow for DD India.
Well, actuaries calculate insurance risks. Now, moving on to our next story, the United Nations Security Council will hold a special session on Tuesday morning to discuss the 50 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. This meeting has been called on the request of the Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar. Saar had pushed for this discussion after the harrowing videos of hostages were released by Hamas in recent days. Dozens of trucks carrying aid bound for Gaza moved from Egypt on Tuesday. Israel, in response to a rising international uproar, announced last week steps to let more aid reach Gaza, including pausing fighting for part of the day in some areas, approving airdrops and announcing protected routes for aid convoys. UN officials say that Gaza needs around 600 aid trucks to enter per day to meet the humanitarian requirements. Israel says that it will allow gradual and controlled entry of goods to Gaza through local merchants, Kogat, and Israeli military agency that coordinates aid. This is what they said on Monday. Kogat has said this. The sacred relics of the Buddha, originally evacuated from Piprahawa in present-day Uttar Pradesh in 1898, were returned to India after 127 years. The relics were handed over to the Government of India following the Ministry of Culture in collaboration with Godrej Industries orchestrating their return. Now, the Prime Minister celebrated the repatriation, describing it as a proud moment for the nation's cultural heritage. The Piprahawa relics are a collection of sacred artifacts. It is a site believed to be associated with the ancient Kapilavastu, which is the homeland of Gautama Buddha. Let's get to the sports news now. And Olympic bronze medalist Aman Shehrawat and Antim Pangal have headlined the Indian squad for the World Wrestling Championships in Croatia. This starts from the 13th to the 21st of September. Aman Shehrawat has sealed a spot in the 57 kg category, and he made his World Championship debut in 2023 but was ousted in the pre-quarterfinals in Belgrade. Deepak Punia made the men's 92 kg spot his own with a dominant victory. Meanwhile, Antim Pangal has sealed the women's 53 kg spot by winning her trial bouts without conceding a single point. So the reigning Asian champion Manisha Bhanwala also grabbed the women's 62 kg slot. Okay, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on your screen and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn. From all of us here in Delhi, thank you very much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.